in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
live your dreams and be kind.
Hey you! Yes, you! Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Hey, any youngers, welcome back to another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. How in the world are you doing? It's been a tough couple weeks for the entire world, and I can't stop thinking about you. I've been tapping into all of my resources to try to help as much as possible, sharing free resources, free tips, free guides, free everything, including this episode today where I brought on a friend of mine who is a professional chef to teach us all basic cooking things, because myself included, I am not a cook. I don't like cooking. I walk into the kitchen and I just pick up the phone and order pizza. Like, I don't know what to do. So I invited her on the show today to give us some tips on basic ingredients that can go a long way, to the best kind of food to make and freeze, to even what are some of the best quick things to make for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a snack. Before we dive into that though, I know that there's a lot of just negativity and panic in the world, and I decided to make a list of all of the things that I have in my life that are good, like some good habits I've started in the past couple of weeks. The first is cooking. I don't love it, but I'm proud that I have cooked most of my meals at home for the past couple of weeks, with the occasional splurging of ordering a pizza. The next thing is running. I've been pushing myself to go out and run a quick 30 minutes every day around the block, not very far, not interacting with people, but running is still something so painful and new and hard for me. But why I'm doing it is because I always feel good when it's done. The next is not crowding my face with makeup. Other than seeing people on Zoom calls, I have nobody else I need to hide my acne for. So I've really enjoyed letting my face breathe and not crowding my acne with a ton of makeup. And my final way is every time I feel a sense of panic or I find myself ridden with anxiety, I try to switch my thought to a thought of gratefulness, thinking about how much I have in my life, how grateful I am for it all, and also then thinking about how I can help people who do not have a home of their own or food in their refrigerator. And that's what I've constantly been trying to do. So that's sort of what I've tried to do in the past couple of weeks, is sit myself down and think about all of the things that I have done that have been good, that maybe I wouldn't have done if we were not stuck at home. All right, let's jump right into this episode. We have Chef Tracy Wilk. She's a friend of mine from college. We met my freshman year. We joined the same sorority, and we've been friends ever since. Tracy grew up in Miami, where she sparked a love of baking at a very young age. Instead of sneaking out with her friends on the weekend, she encouraged them to bake with her in the kitchen. After graduating from UCF in Central Florida, Tracy enrolled at the Natural Gourmet Institute, and she worked at a wonderful popular restaurant called ABC Kitchen. She also worked at David Burke Kitchen, and she currently is working at ICE Culinary, which is a culinary school in New York City. It stands for the Institute of Culinary Education. She teaches, oh my God, so many classes, which you can come and take in person. She also teaches a make your own pizza class, which you better believe when we are back and running in this world, I am taking that class. But for now, enjoy all of Chef Tracy Wilk's tips. And as usual, if you like this episode, love this episode, make sure you scroll down and subscribe so that we can send you a weekly episode straight to your phone. Plus, come hang out with us in the secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group. 1,500 incredible people there to support you, help you get jobs, make you feel good in this wild, crazy world. All my love, Jen Glantz. We are live with Chef Tracy Wilk. Tracy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
My first question is, how would you introduce yourself to a person you met at a party?
So, whenever I meet people for the first time, I love to just say flat out, I'm a chef because people usually freak out and get really excited. And then immediately they want to be like, where can I get your food? And then I have to remind them that I'm actually now a chef instructor. So, I actually teach people how to cook, which I think is way more fun.
So I want to dive into this because I've known you for a while. Tracy and I went to college together. We were in the same sorority. We were in classes together. We have quite the fun history. But I want to go.
Jen was my first friend in college.
It's so true. Tracy and I met in a science class, actually, that we were both not doing so well in, which
No,
I'm really
not
happy.
our career.
Really happy we're no longer in college in that class. But I want to talk about when you started cooking. Was cooking always a passion for you? Like, how did this all start?
I've literally always been obsessed with food. It's one of my favorite things to joke with my mom about because she's like, "No, really? Like you've always loved food and loved to eat." But I really love the most is bringing people together. For me, it's the way I kind of share love. It's how I connect with people, build community, and really, right now, it's more important than ever. So I always like cooked. I kind of taught myself a lot when I was younger. I went through magazines before we had like major internet magazines. I would get the actual magazines. And I taught myself how to bake. I cooked a lot throughout college. I tried to go to culinary school instead of our University of Central Florida, which was a great choice. But my parents wanted me to go get a real 4 year degree. So after I graduated, I said, you know what? Screw it. I want to cook. I'm going to move to New York City. I'm going to go to culinary school. And I've just literally been cooking since.
Which is so wild because I feel like, wanting to cook as a career is not something that's easy to do. So, talk us through the first couple of jobs you had and how you got to your job now.
Oh, I think that's a great question. Cooking for your career is so much different than cooking for your friends, your family, or because you just love food. I had to have my first job. My actual first cooking job was actually in college. A lot of people don't know this, but I worked at one of those salad shops that opened up when those custom salad places got really popular, and I actually really liked it. I then moved to New York, and my second cooking job was actually at Italy. We were in the first Italy in New York City, and I was what they call a vegetable butcher. And I did it for free because I got to leave after school, and I would go to Italy and help people cut their vegetables to take home, which was a great way for me to practice my knife skills. Then from there, I actually really started to work. And my first internship was at ABC Kitchen in New York City. I was their first pastry intern for the pastry department, which was really, really cool. I was there right when we opened, about 3 months after. And I got to ride the wave as ABC Kitchen got crazy popular. And we served people like the Obamas, the Kardashians, before the Kardashians were even super big, Oprah, Ina Garden, all these super big celebrities would come in. We won a James Beard Award, and it was just a really great way to teach me how to actually cook.
Wow, that is honestly, I really didn't know half of this history. I had no idea you were chopping vegetables, working at a salad place. But I mean, I've just always known you after college as being this like incredible chef and pastry chef, and now you teach people. So I want to talk about the basics. Right now is a time when a lot of people are stuck at home. A lot of restaurants are closing. We're facing the facts that we need to be in our kitchen and figure out how to survive making our own food, which is laughable for some of us. Like for myself, I could literally only make peanut butter, I could make pasta, and that's really it. So, what advice do you have for people who are first entering the kitchen and trying to figure out this whole thing called cooking?
So I think this is literally the most perfect time. So I think we all have in our apartments or our homes. I'm in New York City, so I only think about apartments. And we have these cookbooks or we pulled up recipes that we save to our computers and we never look at them. This is a time because even if you are working from home, that means that you have 40 hours during the work week. We all still have a weekend that we have nothing to do, and we are all begging each other to just stay home. So, what a time to experiment and just get in the kitchen. What I always tell people is the worst case is you mess up dinner. Big deal. The world will keep turning. And right now, as of today, restaurants are still ordering, like you can still do takeout and delivery. So, worst case, order a pizza. It's just food.
Yeah, I've done that many times where I've tried to make something, I have burned it so bad I set off my fire alarm, and then I got pizza and it wasn't the end of the world. But
Exactly.
how do you have the confidence? Because I look at recipes all day, every day online, and I'm like, this looks amazing. But then I'm like, ooh, Jen, I don't know. So how do you get that initial confidence to step in the kitchen, pull out ingredients, and at least try to make it work?
So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at this. I personally am kind of a rule follower. I've always been that way, a little bit of a perfectionist, and it's just my personality. So that's why I think I was naturally drawn to baking because there's a lot of rules. But that being said, I also can just sometimes throw a meal together. So I can just put some onions, maybe some garlic, and take it from there. So first, I think figure out, are you more of like a free balling type of person, or do you like rules? And then kind of develop from there. Another great way to learn how to cook, and it's still operating again now, is one of those meal delivery programs. My sister is just like you. Hi, Rachel. Love you, but you can't cook. And she has literally taught herself how to cook using a meal prep service. And she has an entire binder of a year worth of recipes that she's made, followed the instructions for, and has made herself nutritious, delicious dinners. And I'm really proud of her for that.
That's amazing. So why do those meal kits make it a little bit easier? Is it because they already give you everything you need? Like what's the science behind that?
I think it's because they really shake the fear out. They deliver you the ingredients so you don't forget anything, right? Like if you're not a big cook, you probably don't have chicken stock in your fridge or vegetable for the vegetarians.
Yeah.
And so you don't have that. So then you have to go to the store and buy an entire quart. And that's, I think, to somebody that doesn't cook a lot, is a really big turnoff. So I think the pre portioned amounts make it so much easier. And then for someone, again, like my sister, there's photos for her to follow along. And instead of it being a long recipe that's intimidating, it's broken down into 6 easy steps. You just have to follow along.
Yeah. That's a lot of my problem is following along and
You're
um
definitely the option two kind of person that likes
yeah.
to free ball or go rogue, but that's okay. Just add some spices, see what happens, and maybe you're gonna love it.
Honestly, I feel like how you cook is how you are in real life because I am not a rule follower in the kitchen and I am certainly not a rule follower in real life. So that just summarized really everything for me. Another
But
question.
both of them are right. I think
Yeah.
that's what's so important.
Well, that
Then
helps to
is,
hear.
if you like instruction, you can still cook, and if you want to go rogue, awesome, go for it.
I love that. And this question is going to sound like I'm a bit of a diva, but I'm just going to ask it. I don't like buying frozen food. And a big reason why I don't like buying frozen food is because it has so many bad things in it. Like frozen pizza has like so much sodium and I everyone's like stock up on frozen food and when I go to the grocery store, I refuse. But the problem is I'm not buying enough food to sustain myself. So I first want to ask one question, which is what kind of foods can you make with your own ingredients that work really well in the freezer if let's say I have to freeze food to get by the next who knows how long.
Right. Who knows how long is a great point. So I think things that freeze really well are things like soups and casseroles. So what's great about that is, so I'm going to use one of my favorite home style dishes that I know I've made for you in college before, and that's begziti.
Yes.
So the one I used to make in college was not the healthiest version, which right now, in the stage of what's going on in the world, I'm not so worried about health. What I am worried about is nutrient dense food. So that way your meal is going to sustain you and you're going to feel good because we're all being working at home, we're not going outside, and we need to have food that makes us feel good. So instead of doing a regular big ziti, why don't you do it with maybe some whole grain pasta or some chickpea pasta? You can use some fat from the cheese, great, and then add whatever vegetables you have in your fridge or freezer, cook them off, throw them in with the pasta, bake that big ziti, cut it into some serving size portions, and throw it in the freezer. and you can reheat it whenever you want, and it has all good ingredients ready for you.
Ooh, I love that. I didn't even think that you can put other things but cheese, sauce, and pasta in a big ziti. So this is great. But no, I think that's great, and I think doing stuff like that makes it fun to open your freezer and take things out. So I love that. A question from Alex in the You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group. She wants to know, what is one of your all-time favorite beginner recipes?
Hi, Alex. I love beginner recipes. So I like to focus on one thing I really like, and then I like to create it myself. So I'm gonna go with a classic of a delicious mac and cheese. So we've all had the box mac and cheese, not great, but it will work in times like this. It's okay to have some box mac and cheese, but why not take that dish you know you love, right? You love delicious mac and cheese, and then you can go and make it, and you're gonna break it down in order of the recipe that it's not intimidating to you. You're going to see that all you're doing for a delicious mac and cheese is cutting some onions or shallots for some flavor. You're going to make a basic bechamel sauce, which is basically a thick milk sauce. You're adding some cheese to it, and then you make pasta. There you go.
I like it. It's basic, and that's another thing you can stick in the freezer. So I feel like
Yep.
that is a great basic recipe. You
can add veggies to it.
Ooh, I like this. You are known for all of the pastries that you make. I mean, one of my favorite moments of Tracy is when I first moved to New York. You were like creating cakes and you needed people to take them off of your hands and eat them and taste them. I remember in my first apartment, early on, you gave me like all of these massive cakes and cupcakes, and we stuck it in the freezer, and it was great. So, what are some easy beginner pastry and dessert recipes that we can all splurge on right now? Because I know for me, eating cakes and cookies makes me happy. So, what are some of those?
Amen.
Yes, what are some of those basic desserts we could make?
So people ask me all the time what my favorite thing to bake is. And the answer, hands down, always is chocolate chip cookies. They will make anyone happy. And right now, again, I do care about health and feeling good. You also need to feel good mentally.
Yeah.
And I do think we can give ourselves a little bit of permission to kind of, I don't want to say eat with your emotions, but eat to kind of get a little bit of joy in your day. So what you can do is bake a batch of chocolate chip cookies, and I'm happy to share that recipe with your Facebook group if you want. It'd be my pleasure. And bake that batch. You can scoop out your little cookie dough scoops, your little balls, and then you put them on a flat surface in your freezer. In about an hour, you can take them out, throw them in a Ziploc bag, and you can keep them in the freezer and bake one off, two off, whatever you have or want that day. You can go straight from the freezer into the oven and have homemade chocolate cookies whenever you want.
Ooh, I love it. That's amazing.
It's your own break and bake with no chemicals, none of those preservatives, and you made them.
Okay, please share that link. I'm going to post it in the group. I'll post it on Instagram because I'm all about that. I'm trying so hard to eat really healthy and chemical free, and all these like cookie things in the store I keep wanting to buy, but they're packed with so much bad stuff. So love that. What is your favorite easy snack to make on the fly?
Ooh, so this is a fun one that's actually super easy. I do it in my pressure cooker, but I know a lot of people don't have that. And you can definitely do it on the stove. It will just take a little bit longer, but like, what else are we doing right now? We're all locked at home. And I love making a spinach dip. And most of it is what I would call pantry staples. So there's some mayonnaise in it. There's a little bit of cream cheese. These are things I usually keep in my house anyways. And then it's frozen or canned artichokes, which are super shelf stable, and then frozen spinach. So you can really just stock up on a bunch of things at the grocery store, and then you're gonna have an awesome warming spinach dip, some chips. I mean, call it a night with that. Done.
Oh, okay. Now more than ever do I wish we were roommates and lived together because I need your help. I'm like eating dry cereal as my snack. I need this. If we were going to go to the grocery store together, which obviously we're not because social distancing, what would be like the 5 must-haves you would throw in your cart to take home with you right now?
Definitely an onion. Need it, in my opinion, for any savory thing. I'm gonna just assume maybe you, Jen, you don't have a great kosher salt, and that's the base of any recipe.
Okay, what do you mean by that? Because I have like a salt, but definitely don't have a kosher salt. So what does that mean?
So kosher salt is the salt you want to cook with. So I think a lot of people like to use sea salt because we think it's healthier. That's actually not really fact based. And a kosher salt is going to help season your food.
Huh.
So if you can throw an onion in the pot, stir it all up, but if you don't season it, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
I would buy some kind of stock, so either vegetable, chicken, or beef, whatever is your jam. I would also buy some kind of grain because then you can make already we have a base of a dish right now, and then maybe a frozen vegetable medley that you're into, whether that be like the classic American style one or the Asian flavored one, whatever you like.
I'm impressed by these things. Is there anything else you would put in that cart? Maybe anything unhealthy that you would stick in that cart?
So I would probably, well, yeah, definitely unhealthy, but I would buy something that really does bring you joy. And the other day, this was about a week ago, I was already actually feeling sick before we went on so-called quote unquote lockdown. So I hadn't been at work for a couple of days because I had developed a small cough. I'm fine. I don't have corona. Everyone take a deep breath. But I was at the pharmacy picking up some medicine and I saw my absolute favorite candy, which are the Starburst jelly beans. They only have for Easter, and they're the fave reds. And they also are my boss's favorite. So I bought a bag for myself and a bag for my boss because I really thought in these days we needed something to just make us happy in the office, to keep our mind off of all the terrible stuff that's going on outside. Unfortunately, I haven't been back to work.
Oh
So
no.
now I have 2 bags of jelly beans in my apartment, which is not good to have right now.
I mean, I think it's very good and well deserved to have, especially if we don't go back to work for a very long time.
Who knows how long exactly?
I know. Yeah, who the heck knows? But I know that for a lot of people, cooking, just like what you said in the beginning, cooking brings people together. And for some people watching right now, they live by themselves, they're home by themselves. And I know a big excuse I used to use, which was partially true, was why cook when you have no one to cook for? Because then you just have like all these large portions. So, how can people who are either not comfortable in the kitchen or feel kind of weird cooking for themselves feel good about the art of cooking, even though they might not be entertaining anybody with it?
So I think there's 2 elements to this. The first thing is it is a reality that it's very hard to cook for one. I'm not going to sit here and like deny that. I live by myself, and it's one of the things that discourages me from cooking at home as well. But what I do, and actually my sister gave me this tip, is I cook myself a dinner, whatever that may be, and then I have the next portion for the next day for lunch. And because I'm still switching my meals out every day, I don't get bored of it. And that way, it's really helped me cut down costs. And cooking for one, for example, you can't make half a cup of rice. It just doesn't work. So you do need to make a little bit bigger of a portion. So then you have your meal ready to go for the next day. What I also do, especially these past couple of days where I've been at home, I'm sitting at my dining table to do my work all day. And then at 5:30 or so, I shut my computer off and I try to transition to whatever my evening is going to look like. And this is all in my studio sized apartment. So what I do is I actually get the table ready to eat. So if I want a glass of wine, I actually pour that into a real wine glass, a glass of water, and I set the table because I am worth it and so are you. Just because you're by yourself does not mean you don't deserve a nutrient dense, delicious meal.
Ooh, I love that. And I think, yeah, you know what? I think if you go about it the right way and you make it feel like a dinner, it feels special. Like I'm notorious for
Absolutely.
eating in my bed or eating on the couch, and that feels weird. But when you sit at the table, there's a beautiful art to it, even if you're sitting alone.
And there's a connection between the brain and in terms of your stomach, so to speak. So when you're eating on the couch or watching TV, whatever you do, I mean, I get it and do whatever works for you, but you are going to feel more full and satisfied if you actually sit down and properly eat your meal. And I can say this as somebody that ate standing up for 8 years straight, working on a line, and the difference of when you actually sit down is remarkable.
What's one thing people don't realize about the people who make the food for them or the pastries for them at a kitchen at a restaurant? Like, what's one thing people don't realize about the people working in these restaurants?
I think there's actually a few myths I'd like to bust.
Bust
So the
'em.
first, the first one is we usually don't cook at home because we're usually so tired by the time we get home, or just want to kind of turn our brains off. So we're not at home making these gourmet meals. The second one I think is it's not all fun and games.
Mm.
We, I mean, especially me and you are the same age. We grew up in this time where the Food Network was really transitioning to become what it is now. And I think it's great what the Food Network and Top Chef has done for my industry. It's really elevated us and made us less than just the people behind the scenes. But at the same time, it's not the same as a competition cooking show, and it's not always fun, and it can be very, very, very hard. And just saying thank you to your server or your chef, whoever you're in the restaurant or the any kind of food establishment with, it means everything. When people tell me thank you, that's all I'm looking for sometimes.
Yeah, I think people don't realize like when they're going to these restaurants and they're eating out, there's real human beings behind the scenes
There's
making this
real human
food.
beings,
Yeah,
exactly.
and even like
And
yeah.
sorry. I would also say that there's a huge pay discrepancy between back and front of the house. So just keep that in mind that these people are usually working minimum wage, and it's really, really hard work. And they're not doing it because they have to. They're doing it because they want to.
Hmm. It's so true. I mean, it's not like the highest paying job in the world, but it's a job where I feel like you have to really love what you do, right?
You do, and it's not always like rainbows and butterflies. To be clear, I've had a lot of ups and downs in my personal career and my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Landing at where I am now as an instructor, the reason I do it is not because I was like, oh, I'm over restaurants. I do it because when I get to teach somebody how to make that perfect chocolate chip cookie, and they come out of the oven and they are wowed, it's the most beautiful thing. Or at the end of my class, when we all sit together and eat our homemade pasta, it's just such a sense of community. And to me, it's been worth all the hard stuff to get to where I am now.
I love that. What's one of the biggest mistakes you see people when you're instructing them do? Is it that they don't listen? Is it like what's one of the biggest things that you see when you're instructing that most people just do wrong?
Um, I would say not seasoning their food. It's so easy, and a lot of people just think that they can just, oh, I don't want to have the sodium, but like you need salt, you need spices, you need acid to make your food taste good. And to me, that's really what makes restaurant food superior to home. And it does not always need to be fatty. I just really want to be clear about that. Just because it has flavor does not mean it's calorie dense.
Ooh, I like that. I season everything with the Trader Joe's everything seasoning.
Hmm.
Does that count?
That totally counts. I actually love, if you've never had it, highly recommend the Trader Joe's onion salt. It is
Ooh.
delicious. Highly recommend. Go get it.
Okay.
But social distance when you go get it.
Yeah, seriously. I don't even know. I mean, Trader Joe's, I think everything is just off the shelves in New York. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I am avoiding the grocery stores as long as I can.
Me too. A question from our favorite friend, Michelle Rayleigh. She wants to
Oh, hi,
know.
Niche.
She wants to know, Tracy, do you ship the things you're making? Like, can you ship people cookies and brownies? Like, can they pay you to cook and ship the food?
So, absolutely. And Niche, maybe if you're on good behavior because you're working really hard as a nurse, and thank you to all of our healthcare providers that have been working extra hours and putting their own lives in risk. So, maybe, Michelle, you'll get lucky. But cookies do super well, actually, packed up. For example, I have these shortbread cookies that I love, and you can flavor them with lemon, with peppermint, whatever kind of is your jam. And they basically take a couple weeks to go stale. So if they're wrapped up really well, that's a really great gift to say thank you to your people like Michelle, who again, they're the reason that we're going to save lives.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, like, can we send food to hospitals for the people who work there? I mean, I keep asking Michelle, like, what can we do? Because they should be getting something. So, okay, if people want to buy these things from you, Tracy, where can they find out more about you, what you do, and of course your cool in-person classes that will hopefully resume very soon?
I really hope so. So I keep my Instagram pretty full of food content, and it's at Chef Tracy Wilk. And on there, you can see that I work at the Institute of Culinary Education, and we do recreational classes, and they're incredibly fun. We have couples classes, we have really food around the world, we have baking classes. If you're someone like Jen who doesn't want to get in the kitchen, we even have mixology classes. We really do it all. So you can come hang out with me once we're allowed to resume social interacting. And you can always send me a message if you have any cooking questions. I really love to help people, and I love when people get in the kitchen.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear this. And it's like high up on my to-do list to finally come take a class after this all ends.
Jen, you have no excuse. We have couples vegetarian and couples vegan and couples pizza. Like, what else could you ask for?
Adam's head just turned the second you said couples pizza. He's like, all right, sign me up. Well, we will be there, but I want to end this interview with the question that I end all interviews on. Tracy, fill in the blank. You're not getting any younger, so
live your dreams and be kind.
I love it. Thank you so much for helping all of us during this weird, strange, interesting time. Tracy, you're amazing.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye, Jen.
Yay. Hey, you. Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.